I'm going to spend the next few minutes walking you through the Insignia 85-inch F50 series LED 4K UHD Smart Fire TV, because I know how easy it is to feel a little uneasy when you're about to drop a big chunk of cash on a television that's supposed to be the centerpiece of your living room. If you've ever stared at a spec sheet and wondered whether the picture will actually look good from the couch, or if the voice remote will truly make it simpler to flip between streaming apps, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. My goal here is to strip away the hype, talk about what it's like to set this thing up, use it day to day, and decide whether the price point really matches the experience you'll get. First off, let's talk about the sheer size. An 85-inch screen is a commitment, and the biggest question most buyers have is whether the room can handle it without feeling overwhelming. In my own testing space, a 12-foot wide living room with a standard 10-foot viewing distance, the picture filled the wall nicely without the edges spilling over into the surrounding core. If your seating is farther back, you might start to notice that the pixel density, while respectable for a budget LED, doesn't quite hit the crispness you'd expect from a high-end QLED at the same size. That's a trade-off worth keeping in mind. You get an immersive screen, but the sheer scale can amplify any softness in the image. The setup process was surprisingly straightforward. The box arrives with the TV, a power cord, the Alexa voice remote, and a single HDMI cable that's already pre-installed in the unit. When you plug it in, the initial on-screen wizard walks you through connecting to Wi-Fi, logging into your Amazon account, and enabling the Fire TV interface. Because the Fire TV OS is baked in, you don't need an external streaming stick. Everything you need: Prime Video, Netflix, Disney+, Hulu is already there. The voice remote works the way the name suggests. You press the microphone button, say, "Open Netflix," and the app launches instantly. In a real-world family setting, that hands-free control saved a lot of fumbling when the kids wanted to switch from a movie to a cartoon, and it also cut down on the number of times we had to grab the remote from the coffee table. Now, let's get into the picture quality, because that's the heart of any TV purchase. The Insignia F50 series delivers 4K Ultra HD with HDR support, which means you get a broader color range and higher contrast when you watch HDR-compatible content. In practice, bright scenes like a sunny beach or a fireworks display pop with extra detail, and darker scenes have a respectable level of depth thanks in part to the DTS Studio sound handling a decent amount of the audio processing. However, the panel is a standard LED rather than a full-array local dimming unit, so you'll notice some blooming around bright objects on dark backgrounds. It isn't a deal-breaker for most movies or TV shows, but if you're a home theater purist who expects in the dark black levels, you'll feel that limitation. Audio is another area where the TV tries to do more than just serve as a display. The built-in speakers are tuned with DTS Studio sound, which gives a little extra punch compared to a bare-bones TV speaker. In a typical evening of streaming a drama, the dialogue was clear enough that we didn't have to raise the volume to uncomfortable levels. That said, the bass is modest. If you're planning on using this as your primary listening source for action movies or sports, you'll probably want a soundbar or a small AVR later on. The good news is the unit includes HDMI ARC and eARC support, so hooking up an external audio system is painless, just a single cable, and the TV handles the handoff automatically. One practical concern that often gets overlooked is the heat output. Large LEDs can run warm, and in a tight entertainment center, the back panel did feel warm after a couple of hours of continuous use. It didn't trigger any thermal throttling or shutdowns, but it's something to watch if you're placing the TV in a confined cabinet. Proper ventilation, at least a few inches of clearance behind the unit, keeps it humming quietly without any noticeable fan noise. When it comes to smart home integration, the smart home badge on the spec sheet isn't just marketing fluff. Because the TV runs Fire OS, it natively integrates with Alexa. I was able to add the TV to a routine that turns the lights down and starts a movie at a set time, all from the Alexa app. For households already using Echo devices, that creates a seamless ecosystem. On the flip side, the Fire TV environment is still fairly closed. You can't sideload every Android app you might want, and you're limited to the Amazon App Store. If you're hoping for a full Android TV experience with broader app compatibility, that could be a sticking point.